If you were taken off guard by this type of move right here, then you weren't paying attention last week. Maybe you weren't subscribed, so make sure you are subscribed to this channel, because this is exactly where we were talking about rig behavior that could look like we could be getting some kind of big short squeeze. We mentioned it before the week even started, and we hit the highest point that we really could hit with that short squeeze. And this bottom down here is what kind of tipped us off, but something that really tipped us off and what we're going to talk about first today is how we found the bottom for stocks right here and why we thought there would be some kind of short squeeze. We're just going to show you some simple signals that can really help you learn how to find bottoms in an overall situation like this one right here. And what we're going to do that is going to talk about Nvidia. Nvidia really gave us some big tips, and then Tesla gave us the big tips, and now we're seeing some upside in both of those stocks. Tesla lagging behind just a little bit. Maybe there's an opportunity to be had there if we see more upside, more bullishness. We're going to talk about that second. We're going to talk about what could happen from this point forward at this moment. Now, we were mainly mentioning watch for that MACD to cross up. There is opportunity there, and you notice when that does cross up, we do get daily momentum to take us higher. We are going to talk about what could happen from here on out. But first, I just wanted you to have a learning opportunity, an opportunity to see how you find the bottoms and how you need to be able to react in real time. And you have to have the emotions in check in order to react, because you might see great signals like we saw down in this area. And this is a trade that I was in. I am out of this trade 100% at this point because I'm waiting to see if there's going to be some structure in the key area. This is really as high up as I thought Nvidia could go, about to 125, and that is where it stretched to. So what signals could we have seen before this cross up so we could get in a little bit earlier and benefit from this upward price action? Well, what we need to do is look at what we look at in the course, okay? The course is down in the description. They are 90% off. They are 90% off. If you need to learn this style of trading, you need to learn these type of things in a market like this one. When things get crazy and you see signals like this, the most amount of money is there. The opportunity is really there. And so these are signals that you really want to pay attention to. These are the signals that we used for mainly semiconductors, but there's such a big weight that we know that it would affect the market. So we use these signals to say there could be a potential short squeeze. Then we just pay attention to the things like the dollar and the PCC, which is still remaining high up in this area, so it can continue. We'll talk about that in a moment. But the signal to pay attention to here was, I want you to notice we have a low here, all right? And then we have these lows in here, and then we have this low right here. And what do you see across this? Well, some downward price action, right? This is heading down, obviously. But we noticed that the MACD was starting to actually come up and give you a triple divergence. When this was able to cross the RSI, when this was able to cross up on the MACD, the opportunity was there and said, hey, there is weakness in momentum. These are all things that you will learn in the course. These technicals, this actually used weekly ranges. This actually used divergence. This actually used MACD, RSI behavior. All of those things you will learn in the course, the technical indicators course, for $100. That's right, it's only $100. The value of it is like $2,000. I had someone from Wall Street actually tell me that my course was probably worth $2,000, and I'm crazy for selling it at what it's at that price point of $100. But the point of it is to allow anyone the ability to learn, and then it is on you, right? You have to be accountable for your trades. You have to be trading like water. You have to understand that the market can go in either direction at any time, and therefore you need to be able to react. You need to manage those trades. You need to do all those things. But in this scenario, we just saw 2-hour divergences. These really like to cross up daily charts. And what did we notice on the daily chart? Once we got this price action and it did confirm, well, we noticed on the daily chart, it was very, very close in this area to crossing back up. We can see the bars here on the histogram getting smaller and smaller while that signal did confirm. We get a couple more days of upside, and boom, you get that trigger. So you get that to pop up right in here, and boom, we head to the upside. Now, the key thing here on the 2-hour was, did we need to pull back at some point? And the point of this here is, what were we paying attention to on the SPY this week when we were live? Make sure you're subscribed so you can join our live shows. But here was an area where we were paying attention for some kind of pullback, right? Pullback like this if we really need the steam. The only problem here is people were really trying to short this. People were adding on puts. And when you do that, you allow the market maker to take that liquidity and squeeze retail. And that's exactly what happened. happen. So what you're waiting for is a time where they get overzealous to the call side, and we are starting to see some calls trickle in this area, but for the most part, retail might be switching to calls right when we might see a pullback. In this scenario though, this is how you find these lows. I want to keep it pretty simple. Look at that 2 hour, look at the signal in front of you, and everyone down here is obviously screaming crash. We showed you guys here and here, Meet Kevin videos were saying crash, and we said that's the complete opposite of what you need to think right now. You should be thinking bounce. This could have led to a bounce. Once you break through this trend here and you start to head higher and you cross up on this daily MACD, you know, hey, the most likely option for this is some kind of daily move to the upside as that has just crossed. And then you want to be aware of the signals here. There are almost no reversal signals in here. All that you could say as a trader that you're looking for from Nvidia to head higher is going to be a 2 hour pullback, is going to be that 2 hour to pull back and then curl back up, pull back and curl back up. That's when the opportunity will be there. But will it be given to you? Because people are still trying to short this move. We could continue to see these gap ups above key levels and we could just break through. Now, I think this will need to rewind for just a little bit, but we'll see. We do have earnings coming around the corner, but this is how you find those bottoms in the market. You look at those 2 hour charts, you look at those 30-minute charts in those 2 hour charts, and then you look at what the daily is looking like. And guess what? The daily was starting to curve back up. That 2 hour signal does confirm, and boom, to the upside. That is how we caught the trade. If you need to learn this, I highly encourage you this weekend, get that course. It is only up for 2 more weeks. Okay, 2 more weeks for $100 before that price goes up. It will raise in the next couple of weeks. So if you needed some convincing and you missed out on this move, we caught this move early on and we benefited from it. Everything about my account is loving this move, and we're hitting a key area where you might get that pullback, and that's what we really want to be talking about today. So going over to the SPY, we're just talking about what could happen from here. And the main thing to pay attention to here is pretty much every stock that we cover on this channel is hitting a key level where it might need to pull back. This is really as high up as I saw the SPY going. Remember, on Sunday, we said if we get a short squeeze, it will most likely take you outside of that weekly expected move. What happens by Friday? Oh, we get outside of that weekly expected move. We use the options data to calculate these, and you can learn how to trade around these in the course as well. But this heading to the upside, it ended outside of the weekly move. We warned you about that before Sunday. We said if this crosses up, good chance that you're going to continue to short squeeze because of the good signals with Nvidia, because of the good signals with Tesla. Okay, so we're going to go through what could happen going forward. And you notice we haven't updated anything. We're going to have the updated daily expected moves for you tomorrow when we go into the shorter time frames a little bit deeper. But I just wanted to talk about on the daily scale how this could be shaping up. If we do need some kind of pullback, here would make the most sense, because you do have a left, you do have the head. If you get that right shoulder, if there is not enough liquidity built up here to continue to go higher, well, then we could be seeing a move to pull back, gain some buyers, and then head to the upside. We're going to pay attention to some daily expected moves or some weekly expected moves come Sunday, so make sure you are subscribed. But thank you to anyone who really believed in those Nvidia signals, who found it helpful, and who were able to make some money out of it. Congratulations. Give yourself a big thumbs up and a pat on the back, and thank you for subscribing, because hopefully this information really helped you out this past week and you're a part of some kind of short squeeze. But we noticed if some structure is necessary, this is how it would happen. And I think a good area to pull back into is actually something like 543. I think 543 is a great level for this to pull back if it needed to gain those buyers. That would show itself in a simple 2 hour pullback. We'll talk a little bit more about this on Sunday, but a simple 2 hour pullback can go a long way in a big move like this. All right, if we wanted to, we could just zoom back to times where we saw a big base. And what do we notice? We get a big reaction. We move sideways. It curls down for a brief moment. And then boom, we gap up and it keeps going up over time. And then we get a overall longer pullback here. And then it crosses up into positive territory. Big things happen. So we have to pay attention to the fact that this is very bullish. People are still trying to short the move. So if we do see a pullback, we can pay attention to some rig behavior from the dollar. And we'll do that live with you guys, and we can also pay attention to how people are positioned. If people go overly to the put side at a lower level and that just curls up, the most likely thing to happen is more upside for the SPY. That is how I believe this would head higher. Now, what do I think is happening over the next few, say, weeks or so? Well, there could be a couple scenarios that could play out here, which one of them is What if we get excited right now? We don't get that pullback. We keep getting overexcited. We keep getting overexcited. And then we see some bad news come in. Well, then you would have some kind of divergence very close to the center line. So don't think that this bullish move can't turn on people. All right. Don't think it can't turn on people. You are still very close to that center line. So if this even pops up for a few more days and just curls back down on that MACD and goes into negative territory, you can see something worse than this. And that is something very key to understand. But that would have to form most likely some kind of divergence or solidify this right here as a lower high, which we're not necessarily seeing the signals of a lower high at this point. So I think that's important to pay attention to. The Qs look pretty much the same. And where are they? They're right at that highest level where we could get to for the week. Really, the highest level I thought we could get to for the week. The Qs were able to get there. They are crossed up on this MACD. But they are not out of the woods yet. You're not necessarily positive yet. And this could form something. Remember the SPY and the Qs. The SPY can go and make that divergence. What if the Qs aren't able to? We'll pay attention to any reversal signals in here. But for now, there really aren't any. The only thing you're looking for as a trader, if you wanted to get into this move, or if I wanted to get back into this move, because I've already sold out of it, is a 2-hour pullback. A 2-hour simple pullback would be nice for that next move higher. If you need to learn about swing trading, there's also a course down in the description for that as well. But I highly encourage, if you need to find these type of things down here, that you start to think about taking that technical indicators course where you can learn how to actually find bottoms by weekly ranges that end up playing out to the upside, because those are the best opportunities, especially when volatility is higher. Okay, especially when volatility is higher. So congratulations if you were a part of that move. But I just wanted to click through a few stocks very quickly today. I don't want to go too long because I want you guys to focus on either learning or having a good time this weekend. I think it's important to have a good time, spend time with family and that kind of thing. But as we look, we have Apple hitting a key level of resistance, really going as high up as I thought it could, marked off before it even happened, right? 225.84. That's as high up as I saw Apple going before it needed some kind of pullback. And we hit that level. We went past that level just a little bit. So I just wanted to show you how Apple is hitting a key level where we could experience a 2-hour pullback, get back to these little moving averages here and just do something simple like that. We could see more upside. But as this is crossed up and going positive, we could just continue the bullishness. And I think it's important for people to understand that, but understand right now you are at a point of resistance where you could see a pullback. Tesla, this one's just getting started, but where is it? It is at the key breakdown area. So that is where we kind of thought, we actually thought Tesla could go higher than that, but it kind of lagged out, had to retest down here. With that retest, 30-minute curled up, and boom, it showed you the opportunity is there. And this has not even curled up on its MACD yet. So if you're looking for a stock that maybe has some potential opportunity with that 2-hour pullback for some big upside, well, it would most likely be Tesla. If the market is able to experience a 2-hour pullback here, this would be very, very nice for Tesla. You could see some slow gradual downside, maybe some sideways downside movement, and then see that curl right back up, and boom, that would be a big signal for the daily scale to start to curl up. But as you look at Tesla and the market's been very bullish, maybe Tesla wants to catch up. So if it curls up on this MACD, you could just see positivity out the gate. I would really be paying attention to this zone, because if you head higher, this is as high up as I saw Tesla getting right up into here. We haven't hit that level. We really hit the first point of resistance that I was pointing out. But here is where we could actually get that retest, right? We could retest a broken trend line and then start to curl up over time. And we'll see what happens. But that's how I could really see Tesla moving higher. If it does make that move up on Monday, we could see that extend all the way up to something like 235. So you're looking at almost a 10-point move maybe from Tesla early on in the week. Unless it pulls back, then that big move might be coming later on. So that's something to pay attention to. But just notice again, another stock hitting another resistance level where we could experience a pullback. Now, Amazon, this one as well, you're probably thinking, hey, this thing really was able to build back better. And there weren't really too many good signals in here for a trade. I said that multiple times. Amazon doesn't look like the most clear trade setup, but if the market sees positivity, most likely Amazon sees positivity. Where could that hit? Well, it's most likely going to try to get to our white line here, 174.51, our good resistance line. Notice that we gap above it. Very, very important. We don't allow that price action, that price to be hit really as resistance. We then use it as support to head higher. We cross up on this MACD, which meant, hey, upside is the most probable move. And that's what you're seeing. So we're seeing upside from this area kind of following the market, but where is it? It's hitting a key breakdown area. This little box in here is a key breakdown area. And so if Tesla or if Amazon needs to, it could see a 2-hour simple pullback in the near price action. So we'll pay attention to this on Monday. Please subscribe and make sure you join back on Sunday so you can get those daily expected moves for the SPY and the Qs. They should really help us out. And the weekly expected moves for every stock we cover is on Patreon. Nvidia, we already talked about this, but this is really as high up as I saw it getting. I really thought this level in here could hold as some resistance. People continue to try to short the stock market at this point. And so what happens? They get squeezed. All right, they get squeezed. Market makers can use that liquidity to just keep the market going higher. Remember, we pay attention to the opposite side of the spectrum. We pay attention to when there's a bunch of puts, what does the dollar look like? What does the market look like? Do we see reversal signals? And we did right when that was happening, and Nvidia was really able to benefit from that. Nvidia pretty much hitting the highest point I thought it could, which is the top of this this trend line right here, this trend between these highs. So that's what I really wanted to pay attention to, this downtrend if we're going to get extremely bullish. I was completely out of this move though once we hit this level, just because I want to make sure to make money in this overall move. So at this moment, looking for that little pullback, this is an area where that could happen. You can see Nvidia as well hitting another key area at 125. So it looks like it could get a pullback, but does it have to? No. We'll see if that's able to gap above and just keep going. But for the most part, we would say if this is going to remain at least a healthier move up, this is like a big move. We would like to see some kind of 2-hour pullback, reconnect with these shorter moving averages, see that curl down, retest that 20, and then curl back up over time, maybe with earnings coming around the corner. So we'll pay attention to it. But another stock hitting a key level that can give us some kind of pullback early on in the week. AMD, this one here is about to hit it. It's pretty much within it, but you would say just a little bit higher would be that key breakdown area. So this is what we want to pay attention to. It's kind of in an area where it could go a tiny bit higher and then see that resistance hit, but you're so close to it that a 2-hour pullback would make sense. But once again, another curl up of the MACD and positivity comes. So really swing trading was okay with this, but we did notice AMD did have some decent signals down here. It did have divergences at the same time as Nvidia. It didn't look as clean as Nvidia, which we said multiple times. Nvidia looked very clean. Nvidia saw the best price action. So that just makes sense. But in this area right here is where we would pay attention for some kind of 2-hour pullback to then head higher. If we're going to head higher, you're going to see things start to curl back up on 2 hours if we get the pullback. If we're going to head higher with just more squeezing, well, then you might see gap ups and things like that continue, and we need to pay attention to our weekly expected moves. As we go forward into Meta, you're talking about another stock hitting a very key resistance. Well, this has been going up pretty much ever since the earnings. We would say the earnings caused that upside. Then we saw the flash thing happen, and then we were able to curl up though on this point right here, and from that point we've actually headed higher over time. So the swing trade coming in handy here. We're hitting the top of a channel at this point. So this is another one hitting a key area that could experience a 2-hour pullback. Let's go look at that 2-hour because Meta looks a little bit differently. And look, 2-hour is getting a pullback as of right now. So anytime that this wants to curl up, you can see more positivity, but maybe that needs a little bit more of a pullback. Maybe that needs to pull back into some kind of liquidity to really gain that, to really convince people the market's going down, and then it just curls up over time. So I'd pay close attention to this because Meta and a lot of stocks are hitting key resistance levels that could experience 2-hour pullbacks in this overall move. If you missed out on this move, you're looking for a 2-hour pullback, and that's the overall theme here. Now, as we look at something else, AMC and GME. Now, these things are interesting for sure. What do we always say about AMC and GME? What do we always say at least about AMC before Friday? Remember on Friday, that Fridays are when they try to close it as close to $5 as possible. And remember we said this is everyone's going to talk about how bullish this is, how bullish this is, how bullish this is. It can be a bearish thing too. It's not necessarily just this is all piled up, so it has to be bullish. No, this is all piled up. So if you get a green bar to close like this, that would be a bullish thing because you would cross up the daily MACD. That didn't happen. As of right now, we are rejecting. We said to you live while the price action was up in here, we were saying live, yes, this can be a bullish thing. A lot of people trying to talk about this with me, but yes, this can be a bullish thing, but it could quickly become a bearish thing if it just closes below all of the moving averages. So at this point, you're closing below all the moving averages, you're rejecting on the MACD, and the most likely option is you're actually going to head down from here. And I wanted that to be very clear. So if you want this to get back to bullish, you need that to flip right around. You need a green positive bar able to close above this 200. Notice we get a bunch of red bars. We pretty much close right on top of it. it, wick, 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 wick. They do not want to close firmly above that 200, so you need that type of price action to happen in this area for this to be bullish. Right now, the opposite is happening. That's a bearish sign at this moment. GME, little bit different story though, right? Little bit different story on this, giving you a swing trade signal, giving you a signal that we could see some upward price action on the daily scale. This is a very good sign. We're going to update for you the key levels for AMC and GME this week to see something crazy, just in case. We do have Roaring Kitty doing some things in the background that people are figuring out, but I think earnings is going to overall be the important thing here. So earnings is going to be very, very important for GME. If this starts to, say, fall off over the next week or so, I'd really be paying attention to earnings. It looks like to me, if we wanted to, we could make some kind of 4-hour divergence, and I think that would be a fantastic signal to pay attention to. We're going to update these levels for you. Now, one key thing to understand about, are we going to keep squeezing? Well, as we look at volatility, we said if we cross over on the MACD, what's going to happen? We're going to continue to squeeze. All right, we were like, we look like we're forming a bottom. MACD on the VIX crosses over, we're going to squeeze. Well, guess what? The MACD curled over, we squeeze for another 4 days. All right, so this did not surprise us. Now we said when that does happen, we need to pay attention when this tests the 50 and the 200. This is the key time to know, are we going to see some selling off? Are we going to get a reaction to get a pullback and then see that pullback down? So pretty much, is the squeeze going to continue? The way that you're going to know if the squeeze is going to continue is if we start to close below this 200. If you start to close below the 200, in history, when you do experience squeezes and they take you back below the 200 after a spike in volatility, you end up making a reaction all the way down towards 1212, which means what we could see a whole nother couple of weeks of positivity. We could see more squeezing going forward. And then weirdly enough, you might have to pay attention to GameStop earnings because it seems like the timing would lead into that. But as we go into Monday, we're at the 200. If we wanted to get some kind of reaction, we just want to see, is that falling back down on, say, a 2-hour, right? We see the 2-hour chart trying to cross up here, not able to go positive, but we would say anytime that curls back down, you can see that thing cross below the 200. Okay, so if we get some kind of big pop even from volatility, or you'll notice that we'll just get to the center line, maybe that curls back down. Maybe this curls back down. And the reason I'm talking about these type of things is to show you how you can see the opportunity and not get FOMO'd into something, but treat it very logically, treat it with some skill. And that's something that we try to do in the course, really talk about patience. If I'm patient and I see the volatility pop like this and then start to drop off, I know, hey, there's most likely going to be a drop in volatility, and therefore I can see some more upside, and we're already within a squeeze. How bearish are people in here? Are people really piling on the puts because they can use that liquidity to head higher, and then boom, you can make a decision and probably make some good trades there. So this is all about just learning how to actually trade. And right now we notice that the market has gone higher for a long time. A lot of things are slightly, I would say a lot of the shorter time frames, 2-hour, 30-minute, are overbought. So if we do get a pullback as we're at some key resistance areas, I want to know how to know if this is actually going to turn back around. And this is one of those signals. So you have to pay attention to volatility dropping off one more time. So overall, this video is just about, hey, how did we find the bottom? What could happen next? How do I need to react? And maybe I need to learn a little bit more. And I think that's the big takeaway from this video is we're always learning. Even me, myself, I'm always trying to learn more. I'm always trying to stay on my toes. And I'm mainly trying to trade like water because I know that the market can go up or down. Any price of a stock can go up or down at any moment. So I need to make sure to be managing my risk. Something we talk about in the course exclusively for like a whole video is how to manage your risk. And we show you how to actually do that in your charts, not just like, you know, we do talk about position sizing, but we talk about how to actually manage your trade to make sure it is being good for you. Make sure that it is continuing to have good signals within it. And that can really, really help you out going forward. So I encourage you to learn over the weekend if you have some time, but make sure you're spending time with family as well. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I believe that we're going to have a few crazy weeks ahead of us still. So we will be live all week long. And thank you guys so much for subscribing, liking. You guys are always fantastic about that stuff. And I really appreciate it. I just hope you have a great, great weekend. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow on YouTube and Monday during our live video when the stock market opens. All right. Peace.